People don't usually take jobs like this unless they're out of options, no home, no money, no backup. I was one of them. A snowstorm shut down every flight out of Anchorage. My car died somewhere between Glen Allen and Valdez, engine dead, battery useless, not even a radio signal. I had $42, no phone signal, and frost forming inside my coat. A trucker gave me a ride and dropped me off in a nameless town. Just a wooden sign said, population 38, one street, one general store. Darkness everywhere. Inside the store, I saw a flyer taped to the wall. Yellowed paper, torn edges. It read, help wanted, midnight shift attendant, $20 hour plus hazard bonus. Must follow posted rules. No exceptions. There was a number. I called it from the payphone near the propane tanks. One ring. A man answered, just said, Roy. No questions, just instructions. Be at the station by 11:50. Bring gloves. I walked 2 miles through wind that burned my face. My breath turned to ice. I found the place. A concrete box with a sagging metal roof. A worn-out sign, Northern Fuel and Supply. Most of the letters were missing. No vehicles. No working lights. Just one flickering bulb and the faint smell of burnt something. Inside, the heat hit me dry, stale furnace air. Roy stepped out from behind a curtain. Tall, thin, 2 flannel shirts. He didn't smile. He handed me a ring of keys and a laminated paper. Read the rules. Follow them. No exceptions, he said, then walked out. I locked the door behind him and looked at the paper. Bent corners. Greasy fingerprints. Rules for midnight shift. Northern Fuel and Supply. Keep both front and back lights on at all times. If one goes out, replace it right away. If a white car shows up between 1:12 and 1:16 a.m., stay inside. Watch, but do not go outside. If someone comes in wearing a red parka and you can't see their reflection, give them black coffee. Nothing else. Don't speak to them. If the radio turns on by itself, switch it to 101.3 FM and leave it there until the noise stops. Never open the trapdoor in the storage room, even if something knocks. Keep the freezer locked. If it's open, write down what you see and then close it. Write down everything that happens. Use the red logbook under the counter. Everything. Underlined in red. Midnight struck. I didn't hear it, I felt it. The air changed. A low hum began, deep and unnatural. It came from the cooler. I opened it. No shelves. No fan. No light. Just darkness. Too deep for its size. At 12:07, the front light blinked. I grabbed a spare bulb and went outside. The cold sliced through me. One light had shattered, but there was no broken glass. I changed the bulb quickly. My gloves were soaked. When I turned around, someone stood across the road, still, half hidden behind trees. I blinked. They vanished. 12:08 a.m. Changed front bulb. Saw figure across the road. Didn't make contact. At 12:30, the radio switched on. Soft jazz. Old. Dusty. I hadn't touched it. I turned the dial to 101.3 FM. Static. Then silence. Then a voice. You should have stayed gone. It was my father's voice. He died 5 years ago. You belong here. Then nothing. 12:31 a.m. Radio turned on. Heard a voice like my father's, 101.3 FM. Lasted 30 seconds. At 1:13, a white sedan pulled into the lot. No sound, no lights, no engine. It was parked at pump 2. Nobody got out. After 3 minutes, it backed away and vanished. I checked the snow, no tire tracks. 1:13 a.m., white sedan parked for 3 minutes. No exit. No tracks. At 1:45, the bell above the door rang. Someone entered, red parka. Hood up, no reflection in the glass. They walked up to the counter. I poured black coffee, set it down. They took it, nodded, and walked out. No sound, no words. I waited. 10 minutes before moving again. At 2:15, I heard 3 knocks from the storage room. The trapdoor. I approached. Another knock, softer, faster, then silence. I turned around and left the room. One last knock came from behind me. I didn't log it. Something shouldn't be written down. At 2:40, I found the freezer open. No alarm. Inside I saw stairs, stone, old, wet, leading into blackness. Wind echoed from below, deep underground. I shut the lid and locked it. 2:40 a.m. The freezer was open. Stone stair cerising. Wind heard. Closed and locked it. Between 3 and 4, nothing happened, but the air thickened. The silence pressed in. I flipped through the logbook just to hear something. At 4:12, Roy returned. "You followed the rules," he said. He read the logbook, stopping at the freezer entry. Then he handed me an envelope, $160 in crisp bills. What if I broke one? I asked. He didn't blink. Then we wouldn't be talking right now. He turned and walked out. I stood there, still frozen. I have to work again tomorrow, still stuck, still freezing. Nowhere else to go. I opened the red book and added a final line, 8. Never assume it's over. The station doesn't rest, and it never forgets. That book has too many names. Some didn't make it to the end of their shifts. Tonight I added mine. The second night began before I even stepped inside. The wind cut sharper, and the cold dug deeper. The air clawed through my jacket, finding every weakness. Frost laced across the gas station windows in jagged, branch-like formations. It felt like the building itself was breathing ice. The sky was cloudless, but pressed closer, heavier than the night before. Inside, something felt wrong. A metallic scent lingered, faint but clear. My eyes adjusted to the fluorescent light, and that's when I saw a blood smear across the counter, longer than the one from the night before, wet in places. The shape suggested it wasn't accidental. It looked deliberate, like a warning, like a message meant to be seen, not understood. I leaned in, no heat, no smell, just a bright, vivid red. Under artificial light, the smear branched out in thin lines like veins. I checked myself again. No injuries, no cuts, nothing. Everything else was untouched. The lights hummed. The trapdoor in the storage room remained sealed. The freezer was locked. The logbook was closed, stiff from the cold. 11:57 p.m., blood smear larger than previous. Clear directional pattern. No forced entry. Source unknown. Smear's shape suggests purpose. My shift hadn't officially started. but I logged it anyway. Wire was going again. No headlights. No sound. No greeting. Just a sticky note pinned to the register. New rules. Top drawer. Memorize. Follow all. Inside the drawer, I found a clean white sheet. Bolder ink. Harsher tone. It wasn't a warning, it was an ultimatum. Updated operational. Protocols. Shift 2. Do not touch the blood. Cleaning. It will worsen the manifestation. If there are knocks at the door between 12:45 and 1 a.m., ignore them. Do not look, do not speak. If the freezer hums, turn to face the back wall and count aloud to 30. Eyes forward. At 2:22 a.m., a man will enter and ask for matches. Say, "We don't sell any, no delay." If the lights go out, stay still. Count to 60. Do not blink. If you hear footsteps on the roof, turn the radio to maximum volume. Leave it on. Log all events. If it's not recorded, the station will notice. It always knows. 3 violations equals permanent removal. I read it 3 times. Each rule hit harder than the last. The blood hadn't changed, but the air around it had. Heavier, more humid, like the station was exhaling. At 12:03 a.m., the freezer hummed. First, a soft buzz, then a pulsing rhythm. I turned to the back wall and counted. By 10, the pitch rose. My chest vibrated. By 20, my ears popped. Lights flickered. By 25, I heard a scrape behind me. Something dragging. Fingernails on tile. I didn't turn. I kept counting. At 30, it stopped. I turned. The freezer lid was open by an inch. Cold air leaked out. I stepped forward and shut it. The latch clicked. 12:03 a.m. Freezer activated humming protocol. Counted to 30. Audio anomaly detected. Freezer ajar. Redash secured. The interior was uninspected. At 12:45 a.m., the knocking began. 3 slow, even knocks. I froze. 30 seconds later, it repeated louder. Then a voice spoke my name. Calm. Familiar. I didn't respond. 12:45 a.m. door. Received knock sequences. Vocal mimicrisis. Voice match a known relative. No interaction. I made coffee. Sat down. The blood hadn't dried. It changed. The smear lengthened. A crack formed through the middle. A soft vibration passed through the counter and into my elbows. The blood pulsed, not dripping, not wet, but moving. 1 a.m., blood smear altered. Counter vibration detected. Blood exhibiting organic traits. Response probable. At 1:18 a.m., footsteps echoed on the roof. Deliberate. Circling. I turned the radio on. Jazz burst through the static. Then a voice beneath the music, muffled, garbled, drowning in static. I couldn't make out the words. The footsteps stopped. I left the radio on for 5 minutes. 1:18 a.m. Roof disturbance triggered Rule 6. Radio engaged. Voice anomaly beneath audio. No visual contact. At 2:22 a.m., the door opened. A tall man entered. Pale. His face was stretched long. His eyes were too dark. He didn't blink. Got any matches? He asked. We don't sell any. He smiled. No teeth. Just shadow. Then he turned and left. 2:22 a.m. Entity arrived as described. Match request. Denied. Departure silent. No further action. At 2:37 a.m., the lights went out. All sound vanished. Even my breath felt swallowed. I didn't move. I counted silently. 50-8, 59, 60. The lights came back on. The radio was off. The freezer closed. But the logbook was open. A new line had appeared. Keep going. Written in darker ink than mine. I copied it. 2:37 a.m. Power outage lasted full 60 seconds. A new entry appeared without input. Phrase documented. Atmosphere oppressive. Between 3 o'clock and 4 a.m., nothing happened. But the quiet pressed down harder. Something was watching. Maybe deciding. I walked the aisles. Checked shelves. Swept. The blood smear still pulsed. Edges sharper. More defined. At 4:12 a.m., Roy didn't return. But an envelope sat on the counter. Inside, $160. Neatly folded. Still warm. Next to it, a small bloody handprint. Smaller than mine. Clean. Deliberate. 4:12 a.m. Payment received. Blood origin indicates. Juvenile characteristics. Placement precise. I sat behind the counter. Read the rules again. Check the logbook. Only my handwriting remained, except for the message. Everything had been followed. But the air shifted. The station wasn't just observing. It was testing. 4:20 a.m., all protocols maintained. Atmospheric density increased. Station possibly assessing behavior. Objective unknown. Personal note. I don't think I'm a worker anymore. I think I'm part of the protocol. It's studying me. Preparing something. Maybe waiting. It doesn't want obedience. It wants recognition. When I stepped outside, the wind had stopped. The trees were still. The stars had vanished. Behind me. The station lights blinked twice. Next shift. I don't think I will just watch. I think it will respond. And I think it expects me to do the same.
The third shift didn't begin when I walked through the door. It had already started before I arrived. As I pulled into the lot, I noticed the floodlights were already on. But this wasn't the soft glow of normal security lighting. This was surgical, invasive, a spotlight dissecting the icy dark. The parking lot looked bleached under their glare. The snow shimmered like bone. The lights were angled differently than usual, aimed directly at the entrance and at me. The shadows cast by my car stretched out in unnatural patterns, bending toward the entrance instead of away from the beams. I stepped out into the cold, and the smell hit me. Coffee, but not stale gas station sludge. Fresh, strong, overly sweet. The kind of scent that clings to your lungs and stays with you all night. I hadn't brewed anything yet. I wasn't even near the machine. Inside, the temperature shocked me. Not furnace warm, not the mechanical exhale of ancient heating vents. It was the kind of heat you feel from skin, from bodies. Thick, pulsing warmth that seemed to radiate from the walls themselves. There was an undercurrent of something more. Organic in the air, like breath or fur or blood warming a cold space. The hum was back. It came from the floor, the walls, and the ceiling. Not loud, but omnipresent. A bass tone you didn't hear so much as feel in your bones. It didn't stop. When I stopped moving, it seemed to synchronize with my heartbeat. The logbook was already open. The pen lay across the page, but it wasn't alone. 2 sugar packets and a creamer sat beside it the exact way I take my coffee. I'd never told anyone that. A napkin had been folded underneath, with a corner pulled slightly back as if inviting me to look. I didn't. There was no note from Roy. No sign of Roy at all. 11:48 p.m. Station fully active before my entry. Personalized items prepared. Environment anticipatory. Roy absent. I stepped past the register. The warmth pressed tighter against me. Where the blood smear had been the night before, there was now a feather. Long, black, glossy. Too big to belong to any regional bird. It shimmered when I turned my head, catching light in unnatural angles. I leaned closer and noticed the feather's edges frayed into threads, but not from damage. It looked like it had grown that way, designed for unraveling. When I touched it, it twitched. Just a fraction, enough to make me yank my hand back. It was cold, too cold. My fingers ached from the contact. The chill sank in deeper than the skin could feel. I could feel it behind my eyes. I wrapped it in a rag and placed it in the drawer below the counter. 11:51 p.m. Large feather discovered. Physical anomalies. Luminescence, cold to the touch, possible kinetic response. Stored, secondary symptoms. Fingertip numbness, visual distortion lasting 3 seconds. I checked the doors. The rear is still locked. Bathroom door blocked from the inside by the air freshener again. I didn't touch it. The scent from the spray can had gone stale, but the nozzle showed signs of recent use. The rules weren't in the drawer. They were posted all over the station, in strange places, inside the cooler, taped under the coffee maker, folded inside a candy bar wrapper. One was wedged between 2 freezer items. Each one was printed clearly. Black ink, bold font, revised operational protocols. Night 3. Do not say your name inside the station. If the TV turns on, you must watch until the image ends. At 12:30 a.m., you will hear knocking from the freezer. Ignore it. Anyone wearing mirrored sunglasses must not be looked at. Do not access the surveillance feed after 3 o'clock m. Do not touch the second logbook. Final rule. If the station speaks, answer honestly. It already knows if you're lying. I gathered the rules and laid them beside the open logbook. That final line made my pulse spike. I could hear it echo in my ears. I didn't speak aloud. I just listened. At midnight, chanting started, voices, layered, rhythmic, not language, not even sound, really. Something older than those. The vents exhaled a sound like breath, trying to become words. Then the pitch shifted. It echoed through the building in waves. Each rise and fall was timed like it were waiting for a reply. The temperature in the room dropped. My ears rang. The metal surfaces began to frost. Static gathered in the air, crawling across my skin like electricity. It lasted 6 minutes. Midnight. Vocalization event through ventilation. Language unidentifiable. Duration 6 minutes. Environmental change. Decreased temperature and pressure shift. Electrical charge sustained for 20 seconds post-event. At 12:18, the television turned on. I hadn't touched it. I hadn't plugged it in. The screen hissed with thick static, then images formed. A dead tree, a slanted house, a faceless man, all in black and white. The figure waved. Its arm moved too fluidly, as though underwater. The background seemed to breathe. The lights in the ceiling flickered. The image vanished. One bulb shattered. The hum returned. 12:18 a.m. CRT activated autonomously. Sequence. Tree house figure. Display lasted 23 seconds. After Effects. Bulb. Failure. Station-wide electrical ripple. Emotional response. Disorientation. Fear. Derealization. 12:30. Knock. 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 I didn't move. Frost crept across the window glass. I could see my breath. A thin mist pulled at my feet. Then a voice whispered my name. Not just my first name, my full legal name. No one had spoken it in a year, but the voice knew how I said it. The rhythm, the pronunciation, my exact cadence. I said nothing. 12:30 a.m. freezer event. Triple knock followed by vocal mimicry. Subject unresponsive. No breach. Vocal pattern matched the subject's internal recollection. 12:52 a.m. door chime. A man entered. Tall, still, wore mirrored sunglasses. Windbreaker zipped to the throat. No sound from his shoes. The air didn't move around him. He asked for gum. Paid in coins I didn't recognize. They were too heavy, too cold. They vibrated faintly in my palm before I slid them into the till. His sunglasses reflected everything but me. 12:52 a.m. transaction with unknown individual. Currency untraceable. Visual contact avoided. Anomalous behavior. The environmental temperature dropped 4 F during the presence. At T:50 a.m. The second logbook appeared. Same size, same shape. It was wet. The paper curled at the edges, but the ink was dry. Page 1 had my name. Page 2 said, in looping cursive, "You are home." I sealed it in a drawer. Put the feather on top. 2:50 a.m. duplicate logbook event. The message suggests station ownership or assimilation. Item quarantined. Object proximity induced a sensation of vertigo and familiarity. At T:3:10 a.m. I slipped, checked the cameras. Every feed showed a different reality. 1. The station is submerged in water. 2. Total darkness. Only breathing. 3. Me, hunched and writing with a bleeding hand. 4. A vacant room, the logbook turning pages on its own. I shut off the system. My hands were shaking. I don't remember hitting the switch. 3:10 a.m. rule breach. Surveillance. Feed shows non-physical realities. Psychological distress recorded. Reflexive termination of monitor. Symptoms: nausea, tremors, auditory hallucination. Opening parenthesis, brief closing parenthesis. At T:4 a.m. The radio came on. My voice. Then another version of my voice answered it. "Help me. No one's coming." I asked aloud, "What do you want?" The answer came without delay. A witness. 4:00 a.m. vocal duplication via radio. Verbal engagement confirmed. Stated goal: observation, documentation. Tone calm, non-threatening. Intent unclear. At T:30 a.m. The lights dimmed again. The clock reset to noon, then corrected itself. The humming paused for 5 seconds. An envelope sat on the counter. Inside, $200 in crisp bills. Next to it, a handwritten note. My handwriting. "Good work. Stay sharp." I hadn't written it, but I remembered thinking it. I remembered the exact moment. The phrase formed in my head hours earlier. The handwriting matched it perfectly. Outside, nothing moved. No wind, no birds, just silence. The shift ended, but I didn't feel like I had left. The station had changed. It had opened up, and something behind its walls had taken notice of me. Log conclusion: the station no longer reacts. It initiates, it curates, it records. One of you enjoyed this story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next shift.